I wanted to stop on a few things. First, you talked about, okay, is it what you're saying that we should, bounce rate is not always the right metric and we need to find other metrics? Or is it like, it depends what you're trying to achieve, and then you have to, find the right metric?
I think, Florian, this is a very interesting question, because one thing that we learned when working with the European Parliament, there are literally like tens of thousands and thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of pages. Those metrics like bounce rates or how much time people actually spend on a page, they don't really matter that much. So we looked at it from a very different perspective, from the perspective of design KPIs. We started looking into what do people try to achieve on the site in the first place, right? Well, we want to convey some information, right? Or we want to engage them, right? We want to subscribe to some campaigns, to be informed about the next election, things like that. So we actually want to communicate information faster. That means ideally that we could follow the GovUK pattern. I mean, obviously not every publisher is going to do the same, but in our case, we want to reduce traffic coming our way. We want people to be able to find answers to the questions, for example, like when is the next election happening, or how can I vote for the next election, just by typing how do I vote, EU elections, and then finding the results immediately in short snippets that are going to appear in Google search results. Okay. We don't necessarily want more traffic. We want maybe even less traffic, as long as we communicate clearly what people need, right? Okay. So that's one side of it. And maybe
but it's unmeasurable, is it? How can you measure that? Well, does Google give you anything about
that? Is right. That is right. But then what we do is this. So we say, okay, we have a particular set of tasks that are important on a given site. I mean, again, European Parliament, a big website, right? But you might have plenty of different tasks that different audiences might want to accomplish. Maybe look up some things about the law, or look up some things about delegations or committees or things that are being discussed at this point. These are the kind of concrete tasks that they want to solve on that site, right? This is why they come to the site. My job as a designer now is to organize things in a way that they can get there quickly. This is the goal, not the bounce rates, not the click-through rates, right? And not the number of published websites. My job is to to reduce the time to answer, basically. In the same way, like reduce the time to good search results, things like that. And so what we do is this. We identify this important task that people tend to do, right? For each of them, we kind of come up with some sort of a so-called task construction. This is, I'm working closely with Jerry McGovern. He's very well known for top task methodology. And so the idea is, once we know what people do on the site, for each of the tasks that people do, and we might have 50 or 60 of them, we create this task construction saying, okay, people interested in law, right? Okay, let's give a person who is going to join the usability test, let's give them a task, namely find the latest revision of the Lisbon Treaty. Okay. Right? This is maybe one of the typical tasks that people will be doing on the site. And we measure the time that they need. They can start with them when they want. They can start from Google. They can start from European Parliament site. But my goal is to minimize the time to relevance, right? Or give them these answers without them having to spend too much time going through a lot of search results and all of that, right? And so we have maybe 60, maybe 70 tasks like that. And we bring people in, and they will have maybe 1 hour, do this and try to find this and complete this and submit a petition here and find a way to do this, right? And we measure the success rate, and we measure the success time. So do they actually succeed in completing this task at all, right? That would be one important thing. And if they do, how much time do they need to succeed, right? Is it that they're going from one page to the next, and then to the third, and then they go to search result, and then they go back to Google, and then they go maybe again to the site? So maybe taking like 5 or 6 minutes, that's too long. Can we reduce it to, I don't know, a minute, right? This then requires a lot of architecture. So that means, for example, reorganizing navigation, focused around top tasks. Maybe the most important sections with the most important tasks that people do need to be more prominent and visible. Maybe we should not be hiding these things on mobile either. I think very often we just get into this notion of, what everybody is doing, menu button on mobile, and everybody is doing the hamburger icon on mobile. So let's do that. That's usually a bad default. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you don't need a hamburger icon at all. Or maybe you don't need a menu button. Maybe there is a way to display things immediately, right? And actually allow people to drive and drill down into some sections faster. So the time is very important. The success rate is very important. I would argue that this is probably the most important metric you might have.